will be able to get those Raptors head up. We'll see if he wants to do any sort of invade of his own, because he does have prio in this mid lane and on this top side. He will get spotted out by this ward.
Important to see what the response is from Owner. It seems like he's pretty content to just keep clearing. Again, without mid prio, it's tough to contest in the 1v1. Canyon can just walk away and waste a lot of time as Duro's hooked up. Immediate exhaust. Guma already has them low. And they know Canyon's topside, which just allows Keria and Gumayusi to get so aggressive in the bottom lane.
And it's a big deal, even if Keria doesn't actually roam over. Chovy has to play a lot safer as Canyon. He's a level down.
Hit, Sonic Wave, Resonating Strike. The red buff is there too. Canyon trying to finish the objective to hope he get level 3 himself, but the autos are just not going to do much of anything. Owner determined to finish it. Heal going in.
Dead.
Canyon down for first blood.
And in the hands of another player, this Lee might have seemed like just a pick away, right? You want to deny Canyon, one of his all-time best champions. But we know, in case of Owner, he himself is a demon on this champion. Finds the early wraparound. Canyon dying early on in this game. A big lead in the jungle and a rough start for Gen G.
And if he gets ahead on this Lee Sin, Owner is so, I mean, both of these junglers, but Owner's Lee Sin is known. It's so good at setting up picks, right? At setting up plays for this Pyke to go in, for this Draven to follow up, later on for the Mbessa to go in. Like, he has so many dive buddies as well. Getting ahead early on this could be huge for T1.
Would be devastating. Although T1 and Gen G both have managed to find their way out of these early game deficits. But Keria is in the mid lane to flap through the Q. It's flawless. It's not enough to find the kill, but it might be if they can get a bit more. Chovy, beautiful punish. The weird and keeps him standing.
Can be a flash for flash trade, but do note Owner might be looking. Chovy's low.
Chovy's low, and most importantly, Doran TP'd to this bot side almost as soon as he could, right? Keria is unleashed on the map. That's what this bot lane prio gives you, already being a menace towards Chovy in that mid lane.
Credit to Keria. E-flash, channeling the Q as the E
sick.
comes through. It's actually perfect. Can be tricky to pull off, but Chovy, again, has to burn the flash, but holds on to his life crucially. However, that is the start of what could be a difficult situation for Gen G, especially as Doran seems unafraid to walk up in the 2v1, might lose a little bit more health, but Ruler early on as the Jinx hasn't spent any money, hasn't bought anything, and so is just a bit weaker. Doesn't have the damage to really threaten.
Is also Jinx.
Also
unfortunately
Jinx.
for Ruler, not quite the damage that a Draven will be finding early, and T1 just snowballing these lanes.
Okay.
The back.
In these small moments, they can feel like a snowball in a game number 5 like this. As the turtle port comes through here from Keen, he'll be able to make his way back to this wave, but not going to have the most fun. As because of that cancel, I think, Keen felt obliged to teleport to top to just get some of this. And we see now Ruler alone with a Cole walking towards a level 6 Doran. And Lee's in the bot side as well.
T1 so far paid off for investing so heavily in their early game. Gen G wanting to leave their options open, wanting to have the late game insurance of the Jinx, but this is not the stage of the game where it gets to impact, where it gets to do anything, and T1 are taking full advantage of that.
And once again, we see them start that Drake stacking early.
And you're level 4, they're a member down.
Aurora ult stolen.
Pyke on the way as well, they can't contest this.
Okay, should just get taken out. Canyon might throw a cheeky spear, but it just won't matter. Drake over to the side of T1 on top of the gold lead they've already amassed. They're running the early game.
And for Gen G, it now becomes how much can they weather, right? Like, how much can they give up to T1 in this early game to potentially be able to get this Jinx online?
Looks like Doran did use the ult to go all in there.
Yeah, I was about to say, Ruler walking up like that, I'm like, whew,
yeah,
that is scary, even with the sum still up, only sitting on a Colt. There might still be a dive towards bot lane.
Ulti.
Wants to get the poke
down, wants to get the reset. Owner waiting in the darkness. Q barely not hitting. Sonic Wave won't find its mark as Ruler just continues to do what he can on the bottom side. Stacking the coal, taking time, and he's going to need a lot of that time. Especially as Guma is also stacking the Draven passive. If he cashes this out, it's going to be such a massive gold lead.
And that is the insurance policy for Gen G, is obviously Ruler on this Jinx. And I do think that Jinx in this composition gets to be online a little bit earlier than you might think because of the resets and the amount of upfront damage that's available. But if every lane just starts falling behind, know how much impact Ruler is really going to be able to have, because he just won't be able to get through the health bars of these members. As Duro just prepping this wave for Ruler. The gold leads for everyone on T1 steadily growing. Early Drake found by them as well, and they're going to be feeling great about this early game. It's the team fighting, though, where I think the Gen G comp can still make a big counterpunch. Particularly the Renekton, the Aurora, and the Nidalee in an early skirmish have so much power. But then again, you look at the people on the other end of the map, it's no different.
Keen finds the initial CC, carry with a quick pullback. Slice brings Keen in, Dice will take him right out, and T1 continue the pressure on the top side, and this is, you pointed out well, in that skirmish. But T1 have Prio on top side. They're fighting for Prio in mid lane, and it means that Owner can start this objective uncontested. Gen G cannot find that early skirmish.
And even if Canyon looks for something on the spot side, he is going to get spotted out by that ward on the invade. They have TK.
Split dives, two sides of the map. Owner ready with the setup. They want to go all in on this Renekton. Doran trying to style the exhaust already there. Ulting back through to get under the tower, but now he's face first with Canyon. Dash through his key. Looking for the cash out. And on the top side, the Beat of Warfare is claimed. A massive influx of gold.
Keria goes down, but it does not matter. T1 wins on both sides of the map, and Owner's going to be able to clean up these grubs.
Doran doesn't have enough to use his flash. He's just chilling. He's vibing. Alone against free. Duro goes down. Canyon doesn't get the gold he so desperately needs, and Doran just watches them leave. Flash in hand. And 1.7k gold lead now for T1. The snowball that, with their composition as a prerequisite, is fully coming through.
Guma getting so much money on that cash out. 870 looks like it. Of course, at this point in the game, you have to feel for the members of Gen G. You have to stay strong in a game like this. You have to hold on to the mental. And how many times have we seen Chovy in these clutch moments watch the map fall apart around him?
Recently, though, Gen G have been brought to a number of Game 5s and able to persevere. We saw it domestically. We saw it even last year at MSI against TES.
Yeah.
Actually, that matchup going the full distance as well. But as everyone knows, if you watch any League of Legends, T1 are a different beast, particularly with Doran playing the way that he has been. The early snowball for Guma and Keria, it might not be done.
Keria waiting. Ooh, Keen. Will played the dodge out. Keria waiting till the last possible second. Already has an early serrated Dirk. Be curious to see what he goes for. Might just be the Umbral Glaive for vision denial. Again, big damage. Keen consistently forced to use that dive. The slice and dice just to backstep, just to stay strong in this lane.
And in this attempt to kind of be able to get Ruler online with this Jinx, right? This Renekton has now had no prio, is getting set behind, where Doran turned around his dive into a kill for himself. And it's just kind of vibing in bot, right? Like, and yes, this Jinx could be in a better position than if she had faced off against the Pyke, against the Draven, right? But this also costs Gen G a lot to be able to swap out of that natural prio that they would have had with this Renekton.
It's also big that when you look at the setup, Duro tried to go for a W because what else do they have? Like, you need to set up for Nidalee Spear. The CC isn't actually there. Ruler tried with the traps, but it wasn't enough.
I think the frustrating thing here for Keen is you've held on, you've weathered the storm. Who TP's up to the top side? It's Doran. He's up on XP. He has a fully completed item. So whatever advantage you had earlier on, despite everything you tried to do, just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, he's about half a level, and now Owner is potentially going to be looking for another dive.
Oh, Faker's on his way as well.
Trying to hold on. Dominus use Q into the wall. Good combo. Keen can't push a single button.
And the side waves exploding for Gen G. The T1 take whatever they want on the map. I don't even know if Gen G can really contest for this dragon here. Looks like they also don't think so. And Bessa, a matchup that is supposed to eventually do well. You know, at some point you'll be able to outskill. They're getting a turret at 12 minutes in.
Well, again, that's what happens when you don't stick it in the Renekton lane. They don't have the prio. Canyon hasn't been able to make any plays on this Nidalee with either the Renekton or the Aurora in this attempt to kind of bridge the gap for this Jinx to even get into the game. It's cost them.
He steals it! It doesn't change the gold difference.
It's fine.
But Gen G needed that. They needed that bit of hope. Keria. Again, fishing for the angle. Q ready to go, ulti stolen. Won't find the connection onto Chovy. Good steal from Ruler, crucial. But again, tough for him to walk out without Duro beside him.
That ends up being a pretty big steal because it does stop this Drake stacking where T1 could potentially force Gen G to kind of have to fight them at Drake. They can, if they're still in a really rough spot, give up next Drake, try to farm the waves as they push in. Let's see the steal again.
Actually
Rocket.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is insane, especially against Lee, right? The fact that he's able to get that is such a big deal. There's not
Owner.
enough damage.
Top jungle versus top jungle. Fight contested, spear won't hit. Nice side step from Owner as Carry just continues to poke his head in mid lane.
I do want to reiterate again, this Mbessa is 1k up
Yep,
on
pretty
the
strong.
Renekton.
Carry
Not
and Duro
bad.
trading blows. It doesn't mean
Not
much.
bad.
Pretty happy with that as Guma's just going to go all in on Ruler here under the tower. Tom Kench might try to come in. Good traps from Ruler. That's crucial. He doesn't have the rocket, though. 3 seconds. Guma, global of his own, trying to sidestep. Ruler might get caught, but on the top side, it's Dorn versus Keen going all in. Level 10 to level 10. Ulti not going to hit. Every single lane explosive. No kills coming through.
And Gen G, they're just trying to hold on. The promised land where maybe Ruler can do something. Canyon has looked better on Nidalee in team fights than any player we know, but I think his early pick was what really started the snowball here, right? Because Owner was ahead on tempo from the very beginning. Being ahead on tempo meant that the Pyke alone might not be able to get a kill, but if you add the Lee as well, it is free pickings. But the one thing we always talk about with Pyke is he needs to generate these leads, because the moment we get to 5v5s, which, again, I think T1 should be able to firmly keep this game in their control, but just in case, shut down onto Doran. Guma overstepping a little bit, Pyke going down. The game is not won, even though T1 is obviously in a very advantageous position.
I've also seen too many Jinx comebacks.
Yeah.
If she's able to survive in a lot of these fights, get excited, get those resets in, she can completely take over the game.
It's also Ruler's Jinx, right? This is a player who, when push comes to shove, always seems to find that form in those clutch moments. So, and again, I think credit to T1. We talked so much about how Gen G had that experience playing against T1, weren't caught off guard by the rapid Barons, but it's very clear that T1 were ready for the Nidalee. Good early pathing, tracking, shutting Canyon down has made this early game pretty smooth sailing. As Gen G look for angles of attack, try to find a way to come back. First items completed across the board. Potentially a decent time for Gen G to try and fight.
There are just so many threats. You need to take care of Doran, who's obviously sitting on a huge lead in case he TP's in. There's Gumayushi that you can't afford to ignore.
And Canyon
That's something.
snipes that one away, but now it's Herald started. Owner
And I don't
seems to
think
go
Gen G can
uncontested.
contest this, yeah.
What are the
Chovy is not moving from this bot lane. Gen G's kind of fanning out.
I don't think they can
Yeah.
contest. With everyone there, not really an opportunity. Ruler did cash out his cult. The Jinx trying to stay relevant, but this mid lane turret sure to fall. And this is what Pyke loves, right? And yes, the gold lead has, I think, been mitigated a little bit. And maybe if the Drakes end up mattering, it could be that one steal from Ruler that gets him back in. But Pyke, as well as Lee, as well as Silas, as well as Doran on this Mbessa, if you ever walk into a brush, you just die. There's not that much you can do about it.
Yeah, as soon as they open up the map, most likely with this Herald, especially with Drake spawning soon, to get that nice, easy mid lane prio is set up, right? All of these turrets down with a Pyke is just so dangerous, and that is the true potential of where T1 can really snowball their lead.
And you can see Keria just appearing out of fog, ready to fight for a bit of control around this vision. Of course, no one else is on the map, as we can see from our POV, so won't overpush there. And Doran just continues to be powerful in the context of these side lanes. Tough for Chovy to match him, but Canyon coming in with a quick heal. Q over the wall. Doran, excuse me, Owner ready to follow up. Keria now going to follow as well. Duro forced to use that ultimate. And it's 6 seconds before the Drake.
It's level 1 on the ultimate as well, so that means that cooldown is not going to be available. One of the possible angles to deal with a T1 engage. I think this dragon is, like, you're talking about contesting the third Drake, or the fourth Drake rather.
Yeah.
I don't think you should be getting anywhere near them. Just catch your waves, try and maintain this deficit as it is now and don't overstep.
Yeah, because look at how T1 have set this map too, right? Top's pushing in, bot was pushing in, they have complete vision here. Ruler trying to steal it again, doesn't get it this time. But that initial steal means that they don't have to contest, despite the fact that T1 have set the map so heavily in their favor.
Yeah, again, Ruler, I mean, able to find that angle. Canyon, good back step. Ooh, dodges both. Look, and the Sonic Wave. As Duro's starting to walk up. Owner might have to just retreat here. Red buff in his sights, T1.
Oh, this is risky. Look at Doran. He's on his way. Gen.G should spot him on mid-wave as well, and I think they're going to abandon his red buff. I don't think they can contest.
Chovy. Looking for the angle to carry. Alti. Steps out the other side of the wall and will be fine. Faker seemingly ready for a dive. T1 putting down so much pressure. Gen.G want this red buff. They don't want to just concede it. Carrier looking for the angle on the hook.
Keen on his way.
Going for a little bit more there this time. Able to secure it. Guma grabbing it as well. And Gen.G are really struggling to hold on to these little advantages. But again, you highlighted it well. Ruler stealing the Drake, buys them extra time, buys them another few minutes, but I don't think it'll stop T1 from breaking this tower.
Yeah, and it's just so
Ulti
tough.
in, Ruler caught out. They know Tom Kench doesn't have the Devour, so they go all in on the play. Just tier 1 down though. T1 don't need to overstay. And now the Herald out to safety. Doran 2-0. Taking a quick lap around the rift to celebrate.
I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of expecting Doran to go in there. That will be very Doran. Flash out immediately.
Just not in the lane that you expect.
Oh.
Keen. Oh, it's just short. Oh, Keen had to be sweating there.
All right, Doran has also had his driver's license revoked.
That was really good driving. What are you talking about?
He didn't calculate his distance.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Like you've never run out of gas before, okay?
I
It
have
happens.
not ran out of gas, because when the gas tells me that I need to fill up, I do.
You have too much money, bro. I don't know what to tell you. You've never been desperate enough for the last 20 miles.
I pushed my car a lot.
There you go, you know.
It was good to me, but I pushed my car a lot.
We can't fault Doran. Faker, though, continuing. And again, for Gen.G, this was supposed to be the story of the Renekton Nidalee against this Draven bot side. Who could find the bigger advantages? But the answer was very clearly Guma, Keria, this Draven, the setups owner, shutting down Canyon early. And now it's just all eyes on Ruler to survive and scale.
And more broadly for Gen.G, this was their tournament, right? And now they are on match point, down only 2.3, 2.2K, but T1 has set up the map really, really heavily in their favor. It feels like they're just on the precipice of snowballing this to a point where it might potentially be out of reach. And this was supposed to be, again, their tournament. They're coming off, you know, the big undefeated splash in the LCK. Everyone was saying it's going to be Gen.G. And T1 were the unexpected team to be here, which feels like we enter every international saying that, but it doesn't make it any less true, which makes their performances in these clutch games that much more impressive.
This is it. I don't think they can give out a con, and I think T1 not wanting to risk it.
They're happy to just try and get the fight. I don't think they're interested in the 50-50. Lost out a surprise Drake once already. T1 backing away as Keria does what he can to keep control of vision, and Doran just pushes his wave in. Again, just denying more and more resources, taking a page out of the Gen.G book.
I gotta say though, the gold lead has stayed even. I was really, when we saw the early kill, when we saw the early turrets go down, I was expecting this gold lead to really balloon. Obviously, the game state is still very bad for Gen.G. All your eyes are in the Ruler basket, and T1 have a lot of ways, very good ways to get on top of, even with the Kench, to get on top of this Jinx. But we are slowly, if it's 10 more minutes, getting to the point, and do note that the soul point is going to be given to T1 in about a minute, but then they have 5 more minutes. At that point, a 2K gold lead, not going to be the end of the world.
And it's a relatively short-range composition. We've seen how hard it can be to play games out in these sort of situations. Jinx long range, Canyon can start to throw poke with the spears. As long as Gen.G hold on, they've got a pretty good angle to play out these fights. Chovy finds Doran waiting in the brush. Quick Q2 backstep on the Sundering Strike, and Chovy will just walk away, but Keria.
Here comes Keria.
His old teammate in the area. Not going to find him though.
Hoping to catch him on the next wave, but Chovy diligent on the recall. And this is big again, can't afford to give away any kills. Doran trying to keep the pressure here, but may just result in Gen.G conceding a bot lane tier 1.
And as we look at the vision, we do see a ton of aggressive vision being set up here by T1. But literally, again, because of that steal from Ruler, Gen.G can now opt out of this. I don't know if they will. Based on the posturing, I'm going to say that they might be looking to actually contest. But especially with a Ocean Rift, so much vision is denied here. And I wouldn't be surprised if Gen.G just say, okay, we'll try and get a turret, maybe in mid. Let the objective go as Faker, still pushing inside, but does have TP.
Sonic Wave connects, Gen.G staying grouped. Hoping to find maybe a quick pick before the fight starts off. We'll really give them a more tangible advantage, something to play around. So Owner and Canyon just exchanging skill shots. TP behind, TP coming in. Doran on the flank, Gen.G know it. Ruler, eyes on the prize here. Keen, powerful as well. Gen.G, good retreat, calm, collected. Trying to keep Prio, using range advantage in mid. Owner, pull back onto Keen is good. But you can see how hard it is for T1 without an angle of attack to kick these fights off. All eyes on Dorn. The Ambessa wants to keep things going. Quick flash out. Ruler still standing. Duro tries to get a sidestep, but it does not matter. Keen keeping things going. An exhaust onto the Ambessa. And it's Chovy! Chovy in the midst of the fight. Keeping it going as Keen wants to go forward. Guma off on the side, completely isolated. Eyes on the Dre, even though he might just be able to catch up, but it's the reset for Ruler. Ruler, 1.5 items. It does not matter. He's still managing to make it work. The zap there. Guma. 2v1, 3v1, 4v1. They continue to descend. Gen.G have found an angle of attack. T1 could not find the fight. Gen.G happy to take it to deny yet another Drake.
What brilliant posturing from Gen.G, kind of making sure that members of T1 were a bit separate. And the most important things are Chovy going in and out, constantly dealing damage, and then Ruler firing off the back line. He is going to be back into this game, and now this composition is so much more likely of coming online.
But this too is Doran. They get so much damage down onto Duro. I think this initial play is great. You've bullied them off. I don't think they can contest. But that ult right there is what starts off the fight. The exhaust comes through, the damage is there. And once Jinx starts going, as she's excited, you can say T1, no, we can't go for this fight. We don't have a front line.
But when does this happen? When does the 1.5 item Jinx, who should be firing a pea shooter doing no damage, show up in a fight like this? And again, it's credit to Gen.G for finding that needle in a haystack, you know, that one angle to get a fight.
Stomp.
Yeah.
Look at that goal. It's closer.
We just needed the stomp.
493 international kills for Ruler, also passes deft for ninth.
Congrats. But yeah, the other kind of unsung hero in that a bit was also Keen, right? Yep. We talked about how this Renekton is essentially the front line for this team, alongside the Kench for safety.
Gen.G has tempo. Owner spotted.
Dorrance so far away. Are they willing to bet on the 50-50? Wait for the Sonic Wave to expire. Must be the call. Traps are there too. They've caught out Owner. Owner locked up the kickback, trying to retreat now as Canyon's already taken the objective. Rocket hits him! Another reset for Ruler! The double kill for Gen.G's 80 carry.
Oh my god, they can go for Nash!
Gen.G in the blink of an eye in a single fight in the mid lane, and now on the top side at Otacon have wrested control from T1, but T1 refused to go quietly, knocking down the tier 2. They want to try and break the base, desperate to get more. Baron falling for Gen.G. Inhib Tower falling for T1, but now it's T1 on the back foot. They need to survive this buff as Chovy just takes more gold on the top side.
Oh my gosh, what a back and forth game. Ruler's Jinx back in it. Gen.G now with a 2K gold lead. That entire swing starts right here at Otacon.
It's Ruler that sets it up. Owner gets caught in the trap, and even with the kick, the damage comes down. The rest of the team on Gen.G does so much damage. There is nothing that Owner gets to do, and because of that buff play, turning the tempo topside for Gen.G, allowed him to go for Otacon, and as we highlighted, this comp for T1, if you are on the back foot, if you're trying to desperately gain access, if your Pyke is not in position already, this comp doesn't look good.
And look at this now, between our two 80 carries, right? As Teamfight UI is going to troll me a little bit there.
Oh my.
3 items.
But Ruler is now ahead.
Wildly far ahead, despite the cash out for Guma. 480 stacks still, he can turn things back, but we know this is where Ruler really takes over the range.
And it was fights that brought T1 back to a game 5 from the deficit, despite the soul. in the previous game. It's gonna have to be fights, it's gonna have to be a crazy pick from Owner, but now the rest of Gen.G is online as well, right? 3 items on Chovy, Canyon sitting on 2, they can't just go for Ruler.
So many times in the clutch, T1 have made the impossible possible. They'll have to do it again because Gen.G are more powerful. Gen.G weathered the storm of T1's composition, and they're not looking to give them anything back now that they've taken hold.
And how clutch was that Drake steal from Ruler, unironically setting them in a position where they could sit back, where they could just catch waves, despite losing their outer ring of turrets. That actually ended up being a massive point in this game for Gen.G.
Gen.G, from the start of this game, you wouldn't guess it, but they held on. Now 4K advantage, 2-2 on the Drakes. And they are terrifying around those objectives. An additional BF sword as well for Ruler. He hits like a truck, and there's not a really tanky member to eat damage from Ruler. Every single member of this T1 lineup is vulnerable, but Chovy himself is vulnerable as well. Initial lockdown is good. Hook to pull him back, but he hits into the wall. Follow-up now coming in. Chovy buying an extra second. The weirding as he tries to retreat. He will just have to give his life. Quick shutdown! Oh, and that gold lead looking a hell of a lot closer after that cash-in.
That cash in, but then you see Gen.G immediately responding. They still have Baron
Rocket.
buff minions.
Cancel resets.
Oh!
Faker! Oh! Ah! Oh, he tried to be the hero in the end.
Yeah, so he
Ruler
lives,
makes it.
so it's fine. He has TP, can make his way back, but that back cancel, I think, gives enough time to Gen.G to just stall. They were able to get the bot side inhib, and even with that pick of the Chovy, that alone is not going to be enough. The main character is Ruler, but if Owner, if Doran can find Ruler with a kick or an ultimate, that could be what brings T1 to the victory, despite how hard fought their lead was in the early game. Right now it's Gen.G. It's a deep TP.
flank.
There he is.
TP.
Fake Faker's coming in. I think they spotted him.
Gen.G now on the retreat. Duro staying right
on the way
next to Ruler.
Oh, they marked him.
Oh, and mid lane, so many memories in this mid lane. So many series decided by these two players. Ruler and Faker, toe-to-toe again. T1, desperation starting to show as Gen.G keep it composed. No, they can't afford to give them an angle.
Ruler. The cannon saves him.
Ulti in, managing to connect immediate exhaust. Duro's already used the ulti, and now Faker probably gonna try to look to follow up. Dorn on the retreat though, and Chovy firing back. Keen, the flash forward. Ruler now allowed to free fire, but they haven't found the reset yet. Guma so low, but he's still standing. Crucially, healing now coming in. Massive damage from the Draven, but Gen.G are on the chase. One reset for Ruler. May just end it here. Duro, the Q flash forward. Canyon chasing as well. Doran splitting from the rest of his team for a hope at another shot, at another fight, because it's falling apart for T1.
Super minions are in the base. They're going up from that bot lane. T1 have to back to respond.
That's going to be, I was going to say a sole point, but it looks like Gen.G instead want to push for mid. 1 inhib is nice, 2 inhibs is actually debilitating. Makes it so much harder to get outside of your base.
Gen.G continuing to push up. T1, the last desperate stand.
Are they going to actually push the end? Doran is 25 seconds.
Gen.G looking to close it. So much hope domestically, looking to make good as Carrier tries to find the fight, but it's Guma isolated on the side, looking to take down Ruler. One more auto, but it doesn't quite have the damage. Ruler living in the clutch. Gen.G hold the line. Gen.G knock down T1 and advance to the finals.
And the main character of Gen.G, let there be no doubt, is that man on your screen right there. He came back after a lackluster year, and what a comeback it's been.
What an amazing moment for Ruler, getting that clutch Drake steal, coming back on one of his signature picks in the Jinx. Everyone was looking at him being like, I don't know, he's looked a little shaky in the road to MSI. He was the difference maker in this game 5. Take a bow, Gen.G.
Incredible stuff. T1 always seem to find their form at the right time, always seem to have the trophy within their grasp, but in that game 5, despite the promising start, they ended the game grasping at straws.
We got a game 5. It was back and forth, but once that Dragon Steel came in, hope started, but I really didn't think that they were actually going to be able to do it, right? T1 had so much control, but it's, as Gen.G have so often done, they turtle up, and the opportunities just didn't seem to really come to fruition. If there is a 4K gold lead, I don't think Gen.G can take the fight in mid.
And that initial swap that I was being critical of actually does end up helping bridge the gap, right? You did have your Renekton having a lot of tough time against the 2v1, but this was the payoff, right? You ended up having this Jinx and Aurora doing almost identical damage, pumping it out consistently in these fights.
And you could see that when T1 had the big leads, the big advantages, they just couldn't push it further. The composition incredibly volatile, but they needed Gen.G to misstep just a little bit more so they could bring it home. And Gen.G just did not give them that inch. And in the end, it's Gen.G that took a mile. It's Gen.G who now wait for an opponent in finals. BLG and AL fighting to be the last of the LPL to beat T1 to have a shot at taking on Gen.G, the tournament favorite that has so far delivered on expectations.
Yeah, that makes this T1 matchup so huge, right? Because now if I'm BLG or AL, T1 was already looking monstrous after that BLG series. They look even more scary, in my opinion, after this series.
And it's testament again to the resilience of Gen.G. Despite that early game, it's something that this team has struggled with in the past, but that addition of Ruler, and I gotta give credit to Duro as well. Duro, his first international, and he shows up big.
Definitely did. We're now joining Lord, Jisun, and Chovy for the Verizon post-game interview.
Gen.G stays undefeated here at MSI as they're gonna play their second finals in just a couple of days. And Chovy, 승리 축하드립니다. Thank you so much for joining me. You defeated T1, and we know that they're a different beast, especially at internationals, especially against you guys. What was different?
라고 생각을 하고 결국에 저희가 원하는 목표를 이루기 위해서는 국제전에 T1을 꺾을 만큼 잘해야 한다고 생각을 해서 선수들이랑 감독 코치진이랑 열심히 준비해서 이렇게 좋은 결과 낸 것 같습니다.
I believe a team like Gen.G should not be stopped by international T1. I think that's the mindset we had to keep. So in order to achieve what we have in mind, the goal, I think you should be able to beat the international T1. So all of us, the players, the coaching staff worked so hard for this moment, and we were able to make it happen today.
And you have been working so hard for such a long time. The last time you lost a series was February 23rd, the LCK Cup. What makes you so good? What makes you stand above the rest?
젠지가 마지막으로 시리즈 패배한 게 2월 23일입니다. LCK 컵이 마지막이었는데요. 어떻게 이렇게 강할 수 있는 건가요?
그냥 사실 뭐 어떻게 강하는지는 저희 선수들이 다 열심히 해서 이렇게 불리한 상황에서도 역전할 수 있도록 계속 평소에 노력해온 결과 그런 과정들이 또 이런 승리의 결과를 만든 것 같고 이제 한 번 더 이겨서 계속 목표에 이어나갈 수 있도록 하겠습니다.
I mean, we have been working so hard. We trained so hard in order to be able to make a comeback in such a rough situation. I think all the hard work is paying off, and we're just one win away from making another great thing happen.
1 week away and 1 win away indeed. Here now, you reached MSI finals last year in Chengdu. You won MSI finals last year. How comfortable and confident do you feel this time around?
작년 청도에서도 MSI 결승에 진출하셨고 우승을 이뤄내셨습니다. 이번에도 또 한 번 MSI 결승에 진출하셨는데요. 얼마나 자신감 있으신가요?
뭐 자신감은 그냥 뭐 저희가 잘하면 이길 것 같다고 생각을 하고 있고 뭐 MSI 리핏 그런 기록을 욕심이 나서 노리고 있습니다.
Confident-wise, if we play well, I believe we can win. And I'm really, really looking forward to the MSI repeat record.
And who do you think you're gonna face in these finals?
결승전 상대 누가 될 거라고 생각하시나요?
사실 남은 자리 중에 좀 이제 많은 팀들이 있는데 다 쟁쟁한 팀들이라서 누가 올라올지는 모르겠지만 누가 올라오든 저희가 이길 수 있도록 잘 준비하겠습니다.
I feel like every team has the potential to make it to the finals, so I'm not really sure, but I just will focus on working on our own performance to make the Gen.G repeat happen.
You've posted on your socials a couple times actually a quote from Aizen from Bleach saying that I will stand in the sky, I will stand at the top. And now that you're one step away from standing at the top once again, what does this quote mean to you?
또 올해 초비 선수와 굉장히 인연이 깊은 대사가 있죠. 블리츠에서 나온 내가 하늘에 서겠다. 이제 1승만 더하면 또 한 번 하늘에 정상에 서게 되는데요. 이 문구 본인에게 어떤 의미처럼 다가오나요?
사실 이제 그런 문구가 달리면 무조건 잘해야 되는 상황이잖아요. 이제 무조건 잘해야 되는 상황에서 내가 무조건 잘해야겠다라는 그런 좋은 압박감도 있고 이제 한 걸음만 더 가면은 하늘에 설 수 있으니까 되게 설레는 것 같습니다.
You know, in a cases like that where a quote kind of describes you, it kind of adds a good amount of pressure that you actually have to like perform really well. I kind of enjoy that, and I'm just literally 1 meter away, one step away from standing in the sky. So I will give my all to make it happen.
And I cannot wait to see you again in final shining, hopefully. 인터뷰 너무 감사합니다. Thank you so much for the interview. Ji-san, thank you so much for the help. And Genji ascends to the finals once again.